For those of you who maybe know my husband but don't know, if you don't know my husband, Andrea, this is my husband Trevor,
Nice.
and our daughter Elena.
Hi, Elena.
And if you don't know me, I'm Amanda, Trevor's wife. I'm a physical therapist and a nutrition specialist. And so some people, are kind of like, well, how does that fit together? And my story is that I was originally a physical therapist. So Trevor and I went to physical therapy school together. Got out of school, started working with people. I primarily worked in more of a rehab setting, so people who were not as well in, recovering from strokes, brain injuries, unfortunately a lot of amputations. And that's where I started my physical therapy career. And what I felt like I got to a point where what I had to offer people at that point was too little too late, to be honest. And it always, for me, it was a big issue because the people that I was seeing with amputations and strokes lost the ability to walk, to take care of themselves, were leaving rehab even after they had met their goals and going to assisted living facility, were 50 years old. 55 years old, 60 years old. They were my parents' age who were still working full time, at 50 years old. And I would always think, if I could catch them, if I could have caught this person 20 years earlier and influenced them in some way in their life, could this have been a different outcome for them? And that's what really motivated me when we moved to Memphis and started private practice. And we, were working with clients in more of the orthopedic setting. They were healthier, they were more active, and I wanted a way to influence them and intervene in their lives in a way that was going to make a long impact. Because Trevor is the most amazing therapist. I might be biased, but he's taken people who have tried everything else and he's gotten them out of pain. But what we would see is people would come back with something else, and come back with something else, and come back with something else, and he could fix them every single time. And that's a good business model, right? Except for the fact that we realize we're missing the boat somewhere because there's a factor here that we're not taking into account. And what we found was the other lifestyle factors, the things that we were putting into our body, not just how we were moving our body, was affecting how our body was performing for us in everyday life. And it absolutely matters how we fuel our body in what we get out of our body. And so that's why I became a nutrition specialist, because I felt like there's this big piece of the puzzle that we're missing. We were able to kind of connect the dots for people when it came to, well, why did, I had this backache, and I had this plantar fasciitis, and I had this digestive trouble, and I get these headaches, and, all these kind of different things that a lot of times when you go to the doctor, they really focus on the one thing, right? Everybody specializes now, which is great, but sometimes they don't look other places. You go to the knee specialist and they look at your knee. You go to maybe the neurologist and they look at your headache. You go to the podiatrist and then they look at your foot, but nobody kind of puts all the pieces together. Hey, sweet girl. She looks sleepy.
She just woke up.
And so that's what we're trying to do here, put the pieces together, because like your health and even just your nutrition is a puzzle, okay? And so this is really, there's a lot of things to your puzzle. There's being well hydrated. Andrew, do you want a water?
Yes, I do love water.
There's things like hormones, there's stress and sleep. The big piece of the puzzle when it comes to nutrition that we're going to talk about primarily today is the concept of balancing protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Because that's usually kind of the basis where we need to start in terms of building a healthy diet. There's a ton of other factors going on. But when it comes to meeting our health goals, one of the biggest things is balancing those, what are called macronutrients. And so a lot of people, to be honest, come to me with the goal of losing weight. That's kind of just the most common thing that people come to me saying. Usually there's a long list of other things when it comes to their nutrition, but like they finally get motivated when it's like, oh, you know, my pants don't fit and I realized I need to get my nutrition in order. And so this is a big part of that picture too, okay? Because all food is energy, and when we put energy in our body, we want to get energy out of our body, right? That's another thing I hear. I want to have more energy. I want to, you know, have more stamina, endurance, and that's an issue of energy. Putting the right energy into your body in order to get energy out of your body. In fact, you know, we talk a lot about calories. You hear talk about, you know, calories. You see them on food labels, and calorie is actually a unit of energy. So it's, you know, the calories that we put in our body when we move about are the calories that are coming out of our body, okay? And this is just kind of a visual. So this is what 1 pound of body fat looks like. And 1 pound of body fat is made up of about 3,500 stored calories. Okay. We're not doing a math lesson here because the whole idea of the calories that go in and the calories that go out and how does that actually equate to the 3,500 calories if I want to get rid of this, you know, 1 pound of body fat doesn't really work out in real life, because what our body does with the energy we put in is very different, okay? So does anybody mind sharing kind of like what they're looking for in terms of some nutrition knowledge? Like, is there, you know, somebody saying like, I really want to use nutrition because I want to lose weight, or I want to heal something, or I just want to be healthier as I live longer? Is anybody open to kind of letting me know, and we can?
Yeah. I am open. So I would like to lose weight. I find that I can increase my exercise, keep my eating the same, and nothing happens. I noticed a lot of inflammation and new pain that has come with inflammation, and so certain foods must be causing that, might be causing that, I'm not sure. Anecdotally, it seems like I try to cut out carbs. You know, I try to do the things that you hear you probably should do, you know, cut out the carbs. Obviously the white refined sugars, you know, those we know. But I just can't seem to get any kind of magical mix going that will actually help me lose weight, help me lose this inflation or this inflammation. So I just don't know what to do. It's a mystery to me.
And probably from that picture, inflammation is probably the reason why it's hard for you to let go. Inflammation in our body causes us what's called weight loss resistance. Like when your body's inflamed, it doesn't want to let go of body fat. It's like, we must be in some sort of danger and we better hold on to this. Because even though sometimes we feel like when we are having a health issue or aren't, you know, have an illness or an injury, sometimes we feel like we're fighting against our body. In reality, our body's trying to do its best to help us out. You know, when we're under a lot of stress, we tend to store a lot of body fat right here. And that's our body trying to protect us. It's saying, this is a really stressful situation, and we better protect our body. And that's where all our organs are. So let's add a little padding there to make sure that whatever this stress issue is, the problem sometimes our stress now is, you know, finances or a traffic jam or something like that. It's not something that we actually need, or a little one that's maybe not sleeping. It's not actually something that we need our organs padded for. But our body doesn't know that. It's trying to do the best. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of insight there. Anybody else?
Mine's the same, basically the same, but mine's more towards the inflammation part.
Okay.
Of course, as you get older, there's body aches everywhere, but I do know that it is inflamed somewhere. And I know that inflammation causes a multitude of problems.
Yeah.
Most diseases are connected to inflammation.
Yeah, absolutely. They say the large majority of diseases, especially that are common as we age, the heart diseases that creep up, the things like dementias, even diabetes, blood sugar issues, they're finding the root cause, a lot of cancer cancers, a root cause of a lot of that is inflammation. So yeah, it's definitely something more than just our pants fitting. There's more reasons to get rid of it, and it does significantly help aches and pains. So are you just along for the ride, or do you kind of
Inflammation.
inflammation?
I just want to eat healthy, trying to eat more healthy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would like to lose weight and maintain a weight,
Yeah.
maintain that weight. And then just be able to eat healthier foods,
Mhm.
like have a lifestyle where that is my lifestyle. That's how I eat, not just to lose weight, but, as a lifelong.
And it is, when you find what works for your body, then it shouldn't be a struggle. Like, it shouldn't be this up and down, you lose 5 pounds and then it's Christmas, or lose 5 pounds and it's Christmas and you gain back 10 and then you lose that, and it shouldn't be this up and down. You should find something that works for you. And when you get rid of the inflammation, then a lot of you go on vacation and you don't come back 10 pounds heavier. Or you don't, have a holiday weekend and feel like, you have to go on a diet when you get back because, crazy things have happened in 3 days. Like, why does it seem like you can gain 5 pounds on a holiday weekend, but like, how long does it take to, for that to get that back off, like the next 3 months, right? And it shouldn't be like that. When you find what works for you, you should be able to have the birthday cake and move on with life, and it not affect, because your body feels like it's in a really safe place. It's getting what it needs. Okay?
November and December are bad months for us.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. We all, because all the sugars sneak in.
Winter, and
They're just everywhere.
Access to really good fresh vegetables. I mean, there's some, they're not really as good as sometimes.
Yeah, it is. I would say it definitely is a little bit easier this time of the year as the farmers markets are opening up. Things are fresh. I don't know, just this time of year I like that, the fresh fishes, the vegetables, it just tastes better. I mean, in December you want to,
You get outside and
Because it's cold
Yeah.
outside.
you're moving a little bit more. So yeah, there's a lot of factors. Even seasonal depression. A lot of people, when we're not getting as much vitamin D, and there's shorter days and longer periods of dark, like that affects our metabolism and how our body works. So like I said, we're going to go all the way back to the basics as to protein, carbs, and fats. So I will tell you that those are our macronutrients. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. So if you think of like your magnesiums, your vitamin C, all of those.
those are macro.
Those are micro, so
Micro.
tiny. Those are the tiny nutrients in food. Macronutrients is kind of the bigger picture, macro big of food. All food, anything that you eat, whether it's real food, fake food in a package, anything, is going to be made up of one or more proteins, carbs, and fats. Most things, it's a combination. There aren't a whole lot of foods that are like just one of those, okay? The difference between the macronutrients is that carbohydrates and fats are what give us energy. So carbohydrates and fats are what we go into our body and produce energy to do life. To have energy if we're playing pickleball, to have mental energy for our businesses, to just our organs to function. We need energy, even if we're just laying in the bed. We need energy, okay? Protein is different. Protein doesn't really turn into energy in the body. When we consume protein, it turns into amino acids, and amino acids are more building blocks. So they're what go to repair muscle, repair tendons, build muscle, support our organs. Our heart's a muscle, so we need protein, to have a strong, healthy heart. It helps our body produce hormones, various enzymes and things that work in our body, but it really doesn't produce energy.
Does it have any calories in it? Pure protein?
So straight pure protein is still going to have calories, okay?
But that's an energy, that's a unit of energy, correct?
Yes, it's just, like I said, it's just a little bit different when it goes, I'm getting my cheat sheet of numbers
He's
here.
a chemist.
Yeah. Maybe I don't have it here. I thought I had. Because I will tell you, so carbs and protein when you have a gram, like it'll say like 1 gram of fat or 1 gram of protein, has fewer calories than fat does. 1 gram of fat is higher in calories. And that's why you'll see things that are high in fat tend to be much higher in calories. So yes, you're getting calories from protein. The issue is, and why that whole calorie calculation doesn't work, especially when it comes to weight loss, is what that energy does when it goes into your body does something different. Okay, so when that energy goes into your body, it's used to make muscle. It's used to make tendons or ligaments or bone, or it's used to make enzymes that cause different functions to happen in your body. Okay, so it's just what those calories do are different. It's not the kind of energy that's going to help you go run a mile. Okay, so what falls into each category? I have a whole bunch of food here. Some of this is my fake food. And then I have some like stuff I grabbed out of our pantry. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to first say what's protein, what's carbs, and what's fats. And like I said, most things have some of each. But what we're going to do is what the most calories come from, that's what it's going to be categorized as. Okay? These are all mixed up though. So does anybody want to help me out and kind of, or a couple of you, and kind of move things around, put the proteins down here, put the carbs here, put the fats here? A couple of you can work on it if you want to. See what you can do. See if you can agree, or somebody's like, no, that shouldn't go there. That's it. Yeah, you might want to ask. So that's spaghetti.
Oh, it's spaghetti.
Yeah, there's spaghetti.
That's a carb.
Hey, look at this.
Are vegetables carbs? Is that, are vegetables carbs?
I have not seen you up running around.
Butter.
That's fat.
I think this is,
That's a cookie.
So that's jelly. That's rice.
Oh,
It
rice.
does. It kind of looks like an oatmeal cookie, doesn't it?
is that chocolate?
That is grape jelly.
There's the chocolate right there.
This is butter.
That's
I
butter.
already spotted the chocolate.
Gosh.
Yeah. Beets, what is this?
Yes.
I would say the red beets are fat.
What's this, ketchup?
That's a salad dressing. Let's say that's like a, you know, makes me looks like a French Catalina type thing. That mashed potatoes, baked potato.
Right.
What is this? Syrup?
That's cereal, like corn flakes.
There's more carbs than there are anything.
That's
Is that?
That's salad dressing.
Mhm.
It's a
salad dressing.
I would say, to be honest, depending on the salad dressing, it could go in different places, but.
Yeah. Is there chocolate in it? What about the?
Yeah, so, yeah, we've got some yogurt, we've got chocolate milk, we've got, so you gotta consider, so this is whole milk, and this is skim milk.
Well,
Whole
milk is fat.
Whole milk, skim milk.
Carb.
I would say in between maybe
Well,
carb and
protein
fat.
or carb. Protein.
And then chocolate milk.
That is
Carb.
carb.
That's carb. The skim milk is the
You
protein.
think that should be over here?
The bread's the carb.
Where are we putting the yogurt? Strawberry, fat-free.
I think.
I think
Protein.
But it could be carbs, it could be real.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think it looks good.
The chocolate should go in the fat.
You
Is it
think?
dark chocolate or just?
I don't think, we don't have
Oh,
chocolate.
I thought that was
Th-
chocolate.
these are beets. These are
Oh.
beets.
That's a good thing.
What do you buy fake food?
But they all have.
That's what I want.
Yes, yeah, so like I said, foods have most foods has some of all of these. I mean, a lot of things, some foods are fat-free and just have the carbs and protein. Some doesn't have carbs, but has fat and protein. Some have all of them. But when we're building our meals every day, kind of in reality, right? When we're actually making a plate of food, we have to consider what it has most of. Because I've been in the position where I've consumed a lot of fat thinking I was having protein, or consumed a lot of carbs thinking I was having protein. right? It usually doesn't go the other way around. I usually don't overeat my protein, but when we know what it has the most of, then we can be sure when we're making choices, when we're building our plate, when we talk about a plate being well-balanced, like we all know that we should have a well-balanced diet, right? But what does that mean? That means we have some of this and some of this and some of this in our meals, right? But we need to be sure that we're getting what we think we're getting and not overdoing one. What do you notice, and I heard somebody mention it, what do you notice about this distribution? There's so many more carbs than everything else. Usually most of us don't have to work to eat more carbohydrates. Mostly it just kind of, we get those fine because so many foods that are in our traditional diet are higher in carbohydrates. And so sometimes we have to work at, when we make a plate, when we look at our day of what we've eaten, to see how much of this we have versus these two. And I will tell you one thing, that, so I told you proteins, when you go into your body, break down into amino acids, right? And that's how our body uses them, okay? There are essential amino acids. In order for our body to function every day, there are amino acids that we need to put in our body, or it can't do its job. Our body can't make them itself, and we have to put them in, okay? Fats, when we consume a fat, they're broken down into fatty acids. There are essential fatty acids. That is fat that we cannot make ourselves, and we must consume from our food in order for our body to function at its best, okay? So essential amino acids, essential fatty acids are what we need to put in our body. There is no essential carbohydrate. Our body, if you were to not have access to a carbohydrate, your body could make them on its own. Okay? So there are not essential carbohydrates, which kind of puts us in the position where, like, oftentimes that's mostly what we eat, yet our body doesn't have to have it. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't eat carbohydrates. That's not the message. Okay? Carbohydrates are good for a lot of things. They can help our mood. They can help our memory. They can give us more energy. They can help us perform, you know, if we're performing an athletic event or, you know, just, you know, cleaning out the garage, you know, anything like that. They can help us, our body perform better for a lot of reasons. But we just have to recognize that maybe that shouldn't be the main part of our plate. If that's not what our body says, we've got to have this to do our job every day, okay? So I will say that some of these are not in the right place. Now, all the carbohydrates are in the right place, okay? I don't know if rice was over here. And I would say, so oatmeal is a carbohydrate. This is actually a oatmeal-based energy bar, so that's going to go into the carbohydrate. Those things are fats. The same thing with this. So it says high protein, which sends it to the protein category usually. But when you look at the label, it has 11 grams of protein and 36 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, so the more, and it has 10 grams of fat too, so this has all of the things, but the more is the carbohydrate. Okay? Beans. Is anybody a vegetarian here? Okay, because then that's a whole nother conversation of how do we get our protein in if we're a vegetarian. But beans are actually a carbohydrate because although beans do contain some protein, they are primarily carbohydrate. Let's see, nuts and nut butter are actually a fat. So they're going to have, for example, like the almond butter has 6 grams of protein and 17 grams of fat. Okay? That doesn't make it bad. That makes it a healthy choice. You just have to know when you're eating the almond butter, you're making a healthy fat choice, not a protein choice. And that's where I got myself in trouble. I was eating a lot of this kind of stuff, thinking I was loading up on protein, and really I was loading up on much more fat than my body, dietary fat than my body needed, okay? Yogurt. So this is, and I don't know if anybody looked at the label, so this is, has 13 grams of sugar, which leaves it at 21 grams of carbohydrate and only 7 grams of protein. So this particular yogurt is a carbohydrate. I will say you can buy unsweetened Greek yogurt that has, I don't know, yogurt naturally has maybe 6-7 grams of carbohydrates and 20 grams of protein. So if you make that choice, that's going to put you over here. Okay? Yes, so these are all proteins.
So carbohydrates, like, do they have more micronutrients than protein and fat? And that's why we need them?
So generally speaking, the more color something has, the more brightly colored something is, the more micronutrients you're going to have. It's going to be especially the things like antioxidants that we hear a lot about, the vitamin C's, the vitamin E, the vitamin A, that help like boost your immune system. That's going to be more and more. I mean, if you think of color here, this is where the color is, right? You're going to get a lot more of that in your carbohydrates, definitely. The thing about carbohydrates is that whatever carbohydrate you eat, when it goes into your body, it's going to turn into sugar. It turns into glucose. Now, it is quite obvious that I would assume that this cauliflower is not going to turn into the same amount of sugar as a than like a starchy carbohydrate. So there's different, or even Skittles are a carbohydrate. You know, so if you have 100 calories of Skittles and 100 calories of cauliflower, are you doing the same thing to your body? No. You know, it's going to turn into much more sugar, right? But it all does turn into sugar. And so that's going to affect our blood sugar, that's going to affect our insulin levels. So we just, have to know what we're getting with those micronutrients.
Do fats turn into sugar?
Fats do not. No, fats do not.
Do they store as sugar? I mean, they don't, since they don't convert to sugar, then.
No, so they do not convert to sugar, so they do not, so carbohydrates go into your body and turn into sugar, turn into glucose, okay? Fat goes into your body and turns into fatty acids, which can give us energy. We can turn fatty acids into fuel. They can support our brain, so that your brain's about 70% fat. So to think clearly, we've got to have fat. We don't, I feel like, I felt like when I was growing up, we went through this big fat-free craze where you could eat whatever you wanted. It didn't matter what it was. If it said on the package it was fat-free, it was good for you. I mean, I remember in college, eating Snackwell cookies for a meal because, they're fat-free. So I feel like we got into a lot of trouble with that because we've got to have fats for our brain. We also have to have fats to produce our sex hormones, so our estrogen, our progesterone, our testosterone. Require us to have dietary fat in order for our body to make those. So literally, if you did not consume a single bit of fat in your diet, you could not make those hormones at all. One other thing that I want to point out that gets everybody, every single time, all of these dairy products are carbohydrates. Because lactose, that we know is in milk, if people are lactose intolerant, lactose is a sugar. And so when you consume any dairy product, although the chocolate milk's going to have more, the skim milk's going to have less, the whole milk's going to have a little bit more fat, but still when it comes to what's it most, it's mostly a carbohydrate. So a lot of people are consuming, like I said, a lot of skim milk, thinking they're loading up on their protein, and we just have to remember that it's not that you don't have it, it's just that it's a carbohydrate too, because that's what it mostly is, okay? When do you, the only thing you move into, so even whole milk is a carbohydrate, you move into the fat category when you get to heavy cream. So heavy cream or full-fat hard cheeses, so like a cheddar cheese, that's going to fall into the fat category. But other milks are going to be higher in sugar than they are anything else. Okay? So what does that, one other thing when it comes to the different things. So to be balanced, we want to choose a certain number of these that our body needs throughout the day. Okay? We also have to consider portion size, right? Because we all, now not all of us, I would say women, all the women I talk to, we tend to overestimate the amount of protein that we're getting, okay? So this is a serving of protein, so that's a serving of chicken. A serving of protein is about the palm of your hand, okay?
Is that all day long, is it? Per
About
meal?
per serving.
Per serving?
Okay, so how many of those servings you have in a day is going to depend on a couple things, okay? So people will say, well, women always say to me, well, my husband's hand's bigger than mine. I'm like, well, you know what? He needs more protein than you do. If you're a bigger person, if you have bigger hands, then you need more protein. If you're a smaller person, you need less protein. You just think about that's your personal serving size. So we don't have to get out the measuring cups and all the food scales and all of the things. We can know, for me, for my body, this is how much I need, okay? When it comes to packaged food, it's going to be a little bit different. Because it's packaged, that's not the size of my hand, right? So how much, and the same thing with eggs. So eggs are a little bit different because the egg yolk is fat and it's just the white that is protein. So if you just ate an egg yolk, you would be having fat. If you just ate the egg white, you would just be having protein. When you have them together, you have a little bit of both, which is fine. One egg has about 6 grams of protein. Okay. A serving like this, about 3 to 4 ounce chicken breast, has 20 grams of protein. Okay. So if we think of one serving of chicken being 20 grams of protein, how many eggs would we need to get that same, at least 3, to get that same 20 grams of protein? Okay? And this is a beef, this is my son's favorite snack, has only 4 grams of protein. Okay? So not a full serving. What really gets us in the carbohydrate department is the same thing is true for carbohydrates. So about a palm is about one serving of carbohydrates. So that much rice is not what most people put on their plate. We're pretty good with the broccoli. I'm okay with just eating that much broccoli, right? But when it comes to the rice, I don't remember my kids at 2 years old ate more spaghetti than that, I'm pretty sure, right? So it's not that you're like, oh, well, I can't eat any more than that. That's not the message. The message is just being aware that you're having 1, 2, 3 servings of something, and maybe that means that at another meal, you're going to choose a little less carbohydrate.
There's a fiber in the carbohydrate play into that?
Absolutely. So it's going to play into what that sugar does in your body. So fiber slows down the absorption of the glucose. So it goes into your body, it turns into sugar, it turns into glucose.